Hey everybody, this is Nate Smoyer, and you're listening to the Tech Nest Podcast. This is the show where we sit down with the leaders in real estate and technology to find out what they're doing to transform the way we buy, sell, and invest in real estate. If you've got an interest in real estate and technology, stick around. You're in the right place.
All right, everybody, we got a great show for you today. It's going to be a little confusing because I, your host, am named Nate. And the guest today is also named Nate. We got Nate Joens. He's the co-founder, CEO of a company called Structurally. And we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of artificial intelligence. Now, no doubt you've heard of other companies that are talking about they're doing AI, and they're probably doing blockchain, and they're probably doing crypto and VR and AR and everything else. But we get into like, hey, what is AI? And are you really using AI in your business? And I asked Nate that straight, point blank. Hey, are you guys actually using AI? I think you're going to enjoy the conversation. The short of it is they're augmenting the time. They are creating leverage for ISAs at brokerages, okay, so that they can have leads being cultivated and getting qualified. So at the time when they need the personal touch of an ISA to move them along, then those leads they're getting that help. They're getting that cultivation all the way up to that. But sometimes that's 10 months of back and forth discussions, text messages, and all that. And their AI handles all that. Pretty fascinating stuff. I'm excited to hear about this technology. They're already being used by other CRMs. They're integrated with other CRMs. And this is not like, we're not talking 10 years down the line. All right, I'm going to stop it right there. Let's get into the show. Kick back, relax. You're going to love it. Well, hey, Nate, welcome to the show.
Hey, other Nate, how's it going? I appreciate you having me on, and I'm sure we'll have a running joke about both being Nate for the entire episode.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and right away when I did the intro, I was like, man, people are probably going to think like, what is going on here? Is this a monologue or a weird thing that Nate's trying out on the show? But well, yeah, no, I appreciate your time and jumping on the call with me here. So, we're going to get things started in the most traditional way that we like to do things around here. Please go ahead, introduce yourself, let everyone know who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Nate Joens, spelled Joens, the funny way. So I am the CEO and co-founder of Structurally, where we help real estate teams engage, nurture, and qualify their leads through text messaging. We do that using artificial intelligence. So we've been around for a couple years now. Really starting to get our footing in the real estate market, looking to move up market, really getting integrated with other companies like CRMs, lead generation providers, and we'll cover what the term actual AI means today in this episode, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, because you're hailing from the artificial intelligence center, like the central point, like the mecca of all AI. In Iowa, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You'd be surprised how much AI it's everywhere. I like to say my office is surrounded by corn, so it just gives us more focus on what we can do in the world of code. So I personally love the Midwest. Really exciting to now have you in the Midwest or the edge of the Midwest out in Chicago. So I absolutely love it here in Iowa. There's a lot of great talent, and I think we're building some exciting stuff.
Yeah, you know what? And then even I was trying to throw you guys a little bit of a bone. I was gonna. My wife collects these Starbucks mugs, and we go. We've driven through Iowa many times, and
That's awesome.
Saying it's one of the most boring drives, but I do not have an Iowa mug, so you're getting Indiana.
I thought it was Iowa State. Those look like the red and gold.
Yeah, there's some corn on there and stuff. I almost picked Kansas for you, but I didn't want to do that to you. That was rude.
Yep,
so, all right,
rude.
Let's get into it. First question I want to hit you with first is, who is Asa Holmes?
Yeah, so she's actually my girlfriend. No, I'm just kidding. So she's our product, which is more or less my girlfriend when running a company. That's what it feels like. But Asa Holmes is our artificial intelligence inside sales agent. It's kind of a play on that acronym AIISA, ASA. Asa Holmes. See, now you got it. And we had to give it a last name. Holmes was kind of funny because we actually see a lot of our leads communicating with it saying, hey, what's your last name? So we needed to think of something on the fly to give a correct answer.
And Holmes was a little too close. You went with Holmes.
Yep.
I like it.
Exactly. So just kind of a fun play.
For the people who out there who aren't the smile and dialers, who have been out of the brokerage game, maybe they're on the other end of the prop tech industry. What is ISA?
Yeah, it stands for Inside Sales Agent. So basically, it's the person responsible for nurturing all of your online or potentially offline leads as well. So the AI ISA is the Artificial Intelligence Inside Sales Agent. That's really where we've positioned the product. Is not necessarily it's not necessarily there to replace an ISA on your team, but to augment them. And that's something that I'm really passionate about and excited to talk to you about today. Is where I think we fit in kind of the future of automation and the future of jobs. And it's really not to replace an agent; it's to make their life better.
Yeah, I love that. And so, if you had to boil it down, what's the there's a lot of funness in the tech and doing things in cool new ways, but what's the big problem you're trying to solve?
Yeah, so if you really think about it, and this is something that I think you talked with Dave Anderson about in one of your prior episodes from Lion Desk, and he said it in fewer words. Most agents and teams don't have a lead problem; they have a lead follow-up problem. They have so many leads coming in from their portal, their website, everywhere, that they're just drowning in it. And unless you have an ISA or really, really tight systems, following up with your leads is always last on the list, which it can't be. So what the problem that we're solving, is really making sure that none of the leads fall through the crack. I like to kind of reference our product as you're buying lead insurance. So if you buy leads at quantity, which a lot of our teams do, and a lot of people are starting to do, to run your business on, you want to make sure that they're not slipping through the crack. And that's one of the most painful things, especially as a team leader or a broker. You buy leads for your agents. Agents are out showing properties, writing contracts, negotiating. The last thing they have to do is sit there on their phone and text a lead for however long and follow up with them for 8 to 12 months, which all of these leads require that amount of attention.
Yeah, especially if they're buyer leads, because you're shopping for a home. It's a big purchase. You got to line up financing. You got to wait till your rent lease runs out and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you can't just let that buyer go. And there's times where you need to cultivate that buyer to improve their credit. So that's not 8 months. That's a year. That's 16, 18 months. But as you know, I mean, and you're obviously coming from the side of, it's all about keeping a healthy pipeline. You got to lead gen daily, and over time that builds into a solid business machine.
Yeah. And it can kind of be broken up into, the nurture and the non-nurtures. And we, what's different about our product than a lot of the CRMs out there is, all the CRMs out there have texting capabilities. You can set up long-term nurture for texting, but as soon as a lead responds, says, no thanks, wrong number, or what's more common is screw you, leave me alone, with a few cuss words in there. You still, or your ISA has to still go in, opt the lead out, or respond, or kind of sift through those leads.
Right.
But, one of the added benefits of our product is we take that conversation, that qualifying conversation, off your plate. So it's a two-way conversation, not just an outbound drip campaign.
And it's automated.
Yep.
See, that's where I was looking through the website. I was like, looking through on the website, you have this example of someone looking for a 2-bedroom property, and, Asa comes in and greets Philip, tell him that, she's happy to help, but Philip is only just looking. And Asa responds in the way that, the way it's written, it looks like that would be coming from an actual agent. I'm here for if you need anything, happy to help out. It's when are you targeting for your ideal time frame to move by? And this, I think, was kind of, is this really, it would work like this? Because Philip's response is, end of the year, we're expecting a new baby. It says, congrats on the new child. Can AI actually recognize that and say, hey, congrats on the new baby?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Dave mentioned it in his podcast too. So a little backup there. He mentions lead assist in his podcast. So if anyone listening hasn't listened to Nate's, I don't know what number episode.
Not all like trying to figure it out.
I listened to it this morning. It was like 5 episodes or more ago. So
yeah,
Lion Desk has a product called Lead Assist. We help power Lead Assist through, our AI right there within the Lion Desk CRM. So Dave mentioned, I think someone going through a divorce. I think we were responding to a lead who said, I'm looking for my sister who's going through divorce. There's a lot happening in a message like that. First of all, that lead themselves is not looking for the property. They're looking for a third party, being their sister. And that third party, their sister, is going through a divorce. So I looked at that conversation and we actually said, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. What's their time frame to move? So doing things like changing the pronoun from your to their and mentioning things like, I'm sorry to hear that. That's the things that we've built into our AI that make it feel indistinguishable from human. And that's something that we had to set out to want to do when we first built the product. There's a lot of chatbot builders out there that are not very good. The biggest problem is you can tell it's a bot, and that's kind of on purpose because it's easier. It's easier to build from a product perspective, from a company perspective. I don't think it's a benefit to the consumer at all. There's no, especially for a high value transaction like buying a house. You don't want to talk to a bot. That's not worth it to you. Why would you not want to talk to a human?
All right, so let's address the elephant in the room right now because we're headed down this trail. I can feel it. We just got to address it. First questions, and I'm not trying to be rude about this, but we got to hit it straight on. Is Structurally really using AI, and what makes it AI versus what you're talking about with chatbots? Because I hear this talked about and I see it in taglines all the time: AI, machine learning, blockchain, crypto, AR, VR. As long as you put that on a product right now, you're a tech. And for all I know, it's an offshore assistance team that's literally doing all the work. And I'm not going to call it out, but I know, there are multiple digital staging companies. They're not digital staging companies. There's nothing really digital about it. It's design agencies.
Yep.
They're just, someone is literally dropping a couch into the picture. There's nothing about that is smart. So walk me through here. What makes what Structurally is doing AI versus what chatbots are, and why are they not AI?
Yeah. I think the best definition of AI that I've heard is basically when something is AI, it's doing something that usually requires a human to do, or a computer doing something that usually requires a human to do, or human level of intelligence. Yeah. Obviously, you could argue that a chatbot is doing that, but a chatbot doesn't necessarily understand the answers that you're providing. It might do some really dumb stuff, like if it asks, hey, what's your email? And you don't type a valid email, it might say, that's not valid. That's not really AI. That's just,
or it might respond with thanks.
Yeah. Or it could just be really bad and say thanks. So that isn't necessarily a human level of intelligence. A human level of intelligence is looking at a conversation and saying, that person is talking about buying a house for their sister. Their sister is going through divorce. So that kind of indistinguishable from human stuff is really what sets us apart and makes us AI. And I like to call us AI. I like to stay away from the word chatbot because I think it's way too hyped up. I think thankfully we're kind of through the hype curve, and a lot of those chatbot companies that were chatbots have faded out and fizzled out, and we're kind of on the true and steady, the real AI players are here to stay. But I think what really sets us apart is those things like looking through, we respond to veterans. We respond to, if someone says, we ask a question like, are you pre-approved for a loan or looking to pay cash? And if the person says, I'm not approved for a loan yet, I'm going to be using my VA. We respond, oh, great. Thank you for your service. I'd be happy to put you in touch with my lender. What's your time frame to move?
That's so impressive right there. That is impressive. Yeah.
So paying off the answers that they give us, the leads give us, goes so much further in the conversation to make them feel heard.
Yeah. And see, this is so important because what you're talking about is so many times I hear and I read about new tech coming into real estate, and I'm trying to figure out like what are the, and I asked you at the top of the show, what's the problem you're trying to solve? And that's usually like secondhand. Like that's the later thought, right? We discover this tech, let's apply it to real estate because there's a ton of money there. And if we just capture 1%, then we'll all be rich. Yep. Is oftentimes like if you just follow the trail, that's the way it goes. But what you're talking about is it's literally like you could 10x the productivity of an ISA, which means every time that they are on the phone with someone or a consumer is at the stage of looking to purchase or they need help through the transaction that requires the human hand, they're able to apply that attention because they're not drowning in all the other things that they're trying to keep up with. And this plagues, service-based businesses all the time. They just can't keep up with the service. And so then they either have to give up volume, which then is gross sales, or they allow themselves to deliver lower service to maintain those gross sales. And that's a dilemma that businesses really shouldn't be making anymore. We don't have excuses for that anymore.
So, are you looking for a job from Avail? Because that was our sales pitch, like right on the money. That was perfect. And I know you're very happy at Avail now, and congrats on that. I know Avail is a great company, so I'm excited for you to be there. But that was spot on. That's what we talked to our ISA teams about, and what I mentioned earlier on in the conversation was a lot of people might think we're trying to replace ISAs. We're not at all. We're trying to augment their role. We're trying to make their lives better because they get, the reason they're hired on is because their team leader says, I'm going to buy a bunch of PPC leads and just send them to my ISA. Well, that person's life is about to be miserable for quite a while. And I have so much respect for ISAs because they get to deal with crap, a ton of it. They get thousands of no's a day, and a lot harsher than no. They get a lot of cuss words and just screw yous all the time. And agents are out there showing houses, doing the kind of more fun stuff after their ISAs have set them up for success. So that's why I have so much respect for ISAs after going through this. I
will admit, though, I would much rather be in the bullpen making cold calls than showing houses. I'm a terrible showing agent. Terrible.
That's, some people are better on the phones than others, I guess. But I think there's such high turnover there's high turnover in real estate generally, but there's a lot of turnover in the ISA role because it's so difficult. You have to be a special kind of insane to want to do that. But I think that's something that our product is there to help solve, is to hopefully reduce that burnout, let them focus on more important things, more fun things. And I actually saw a tweet the other week from some VC. I don't really even know how I followed them, but they asked the question of, will automation permanently destroy jobs? Is humanity incapable of relearning and learning how to do more creative work? Or will new tools liberate individuals from a lifetime of drudgery? And I thought, wow, that is a really intense question. But he argues, he's a tech VC, so he says, technology will always liberate us from a lifetime of drudgery. And I completely agree with that, because think about all of just the most basic software you use today. Email. What type of life did we have before email? I don't even know, because I wasn't born then. But I couldn't imagine what we did before that. And it's the same with tech like AI. It should be there to liberate individuals to do more creative work, not the drudgery stuff of getting cussed at all day, every day.
I love it. Let me ask you this. So, obviously there's you talked about some of the challenges in creating the actual AI to be able to function for agents and brokers. And I could see that being a significant hurdle when you're making your sales pitch. Hey, we've got this technology that is going to be able to, help you talk to your leads. And don't worry, trust us, we're going to handle your conversations. But aside from that, like how do you show that this is going to be a big needle mover for those teams? Where do they see the immediate impact? If you're saying, hey, it's going to take you 8 months to cultivate them anyway, let us do that for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically kind of like what I said earlier. It's thought of as lead insurance. It's basically you're buying all these leads, and to date, you're kind of wasting them. You're not kind of wasting them. I know you're not responding to them, and you know it too. So it's really just, I think you were talking to Dave about, the worst sales pitch in the world for real estate tech entrepreneurs is, oh, you just will sell one more house. That's not necessarily the case. Right? We don't help you sell more houses. We still rely on your ISA. If I got $1
every time I heard that, I'd be able to buy one more house.
Exactly. I mean, our software, our product is not very expensive if you compare it to hiring a true ISA, it's like 10% of the cost or less. So it's super cheap. And
I truthfully didn't I didn't look at the price. What's it cost?
It starts at $179 a month. So,
okay. And that's for one seat. So an individual agent, one seat, 180
50 leads.
Okay.
Yeah, up to 50 leads that we respond to over 12 months, qualify them. So yeah, starts at $179 a month. And I mean, what is a typical ISA if, commission based, OTE could go for $5,000 a month or so potentially. So
and then you do have other models. Like it can work for it. From what I'm gathering here, it looks like you have the ability to be able to grow this and scale it to meet the team model. So we were talking about Ben Kinney earlier, prior to the show, like it would fit with his team and then franchise. You could actually then take this and roll it out across if a brokerage had multiple locations or a national brokerage, they could roll this out across their brokerage.
Yeah. So we've kind of found our niche with teams because they really focus on the online leads, the digital leads. We have a lot of integrations with their CRMs and their lead providers, which is kind of a key requirement of working with those teams, and same with brokerages. But what's not listed or is kind of alluded to with the franchise is what I mentioned earlier with our partnership with like LionDesk. That's a really interesting place for us that we've found no one else can really compete with. Our product is run on AI. We don't have a human team offshore responding to all of our conversations somewhere. Although we do have a human team that monitors conversations that go south and can jump in at any time to take them over and do all sorts of data training, periodically. We can scale up to hundreds of thousands of leads without needing to go hire 20 more, call center reps. So
that's
what we
amazing.
found, and it's something we've proved time and time again is, our partnership with LionDesk, they send us quite a few leads. We have another partnership with a lead generation provider that sends us a lot of leads. Those are, if you really think about the lead generation players and the CRM players, they have the lead problem or the lead follow-up problem at scale. They sell leads to agents and their agents come back and say, your leads suck. When in reality, the leads don't suck. The agent's follow-up sucks. So the lead provider, the CRM, gets all the heat for having bad leads. And they have to argue, well, no, it's not our fault, and can't really do anything about it. So we found a really good sweet spot helping them kind of solve that need of delivering more high quality leads, or at least making sure that the leads they're delivering are getting followed up like they should.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I love that.
It's been great for us. Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously, there's definitely different needs when you're going individual to team and to brokerage. I do want to ask you, I mean, this is more of an industry question. Curious your thoughts on this. There's been a lot of talk lately about, do brokerages matter? Right? Do brokerages even matter? Does the consumer care about that? And obviously the proliferation of teams has really even challenged what is the brokerage delivering today in your mind. I'm not going to get into the does brokerage matter debate, but I want to ask you, why do you think teams right now have just proven to become so valuable and popular amongst agents?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the tech that they're providing their agents. A lot of it is, provided at a significant discount to their agents. Tech like ours, the team leader pays for, so they can add 20 agents for free, quote free, right?
Yep.
So a lot of that, brokerages do that too, but a lot of it comes with desk fees and is kind of hidden in there. But I think a lot of it comes from just cultural, openness, if that's the right term. I think brokerages have kind of operated behind a closed door for a long time, and teams have opened that door and said, come and look what we do. You can be a part of this, join us, and you get all this cool stuff for free as well. So I think that's something that they're doing really well. One example is there's a team out in Seattle that we're really close with, and something that I think that they do a great job of is, I think they call it like Open Office Tuesdays or something, where they say every agent in the Seattle area, just come to our office and see what we do, even if you're not a part of our brokerage or team, right? So that's a lot of people would be like, you're going to tell your competitors your secrets like that? And they're like, yeah, why not? And it's been really successful.
What are you going to do when your secrets are like what will likely attract other good agents? You think they're going to not want to be a part of what you're doing?
Yeah,
they're not going to stay at bay for too long. They're going to be like, hey, is it cool if I like just hung out Monday through Friday?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's something that it just kind of speaks to that kind of cultural aspect that teams bring to the table.
So one thing that's unique about startups often is we make up metrics. We totally make up metrics. And I'm curious, what sort of unique metric have you guys made up or used to measure, the success and productivity of Structurally?
That's a really tough question, but a good one. It makes me think. I think the one so we have a really unique data set of all the conversations we see because we've been hand labeling every message for 2 years.
Okay, so I knew that. First off, I want to say this. I knew that because I looked at your jobs page and you're hiring people for doing that. So
yeah,
Structurally is hiring people. If you know someone solid and they're looking remote. But I looked at that and I read through that job description and that blew me away. So I just wanted to point that out. I need to hear more about that because I was going to ask about that a little bit here, but keep going.
But yeah, so that gives us a really unique perspective. Not all of our messages are hand labeled. A lot of them are predicted by our model, by our AI. And that gives us a really interesting insight into why people are buying and how. So one example, like we can slice and dice our data to say how many people are moving because they're going through a divorce. I don't know if anyone else can really do that other than if you do some like social stuff, you could probably scrape Facebook and other things and maybe get there. But we can also do things like how many people are going through a divorce and are a veteran, and also, how many people are veterans and investors. I mean, we can slice and dice our data set of leads in a really unique way. Wow. I think we made up our own product metric that we call agent ready leads, or basically qualified leads, which is really interesting for us. These are leads who say something really needy, I guess. Yep. Something like, I need a call right away. I want to go see this property. Or they make it through a full qualifying conversation. They're approved for a loan, want to move in X amount of time and not working with an agent. These are agent ready leads. So we track that and put it front and center in our product so that, again, ISAs or agents can just say, which leads haven't I responded to yet that are agent ready? So what we found is about 11 to 12% of the leads we respond to become agent ready.
Wow. So the team has some marketing, whether they're doing their own lead gen online or they've got a service doing that lead gen, pumps it into a CRM. You guys tie in with the CRM, cultivate the lead. At that point, it is a marketing qualified lead. And then you get that lead to the point where it's truly a sales qualified lead, and you turn your ISAs into from account execs to truly closers.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it in kind of the traditional SaaS terms. Real estate agents, some good ones might really think about their funnel that way, but that really is the funnel that we're helping them move those leads through. Exactly.
Yeah. That's I love it. I mean, it shows that you guys have, obviously there's a ton to think through there and a lot of nuance. And even in real estate, I tell this people all the time, especially when people talk about going in they're going to do real estate advertising. I just tell them to stop, to quit. I might mention this literally like every other show, but I won't stop talking about it because it's important. There's so many nuances and false triggers as to what someone is trying to accomplish in and around both the rental and purchase of real estate. And it's hard to uncover. This is why the phrase, I'll just say the phrase instead of agents saying it, because I think it exists in auto sales too, is that buyers are liars.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not necessarily that buyers are lying all the time. Sometimes maybe. But like there's just a lot of false triggers and, you don't know.
Yeah.
Lots
they just don't tell you the full truth.
Yeah. I mean, look, let me just be real. So we're shopping right now. I've been shopping pretty hard, multiple different markets. I have multiple different realtors helping me because I'm not shopping in Chicago. And, I haven't told all of them that I'm shopping other markets, but that's okay. That's all right. At the same time, I'm going to hold my cards close to my hands, right? Because I got to win too. So, all right, let's keep moving here. I won't keep going down diatribes. One thing I wanted to know is, so it's been a few years. You guys have been up and running. What would you say has been helping your growth? So you got this great partnership with Lion Desk, and you're working with other teams across the country. What's been the key driver to your growth? Because I can't help but imagine, even after a very convincing sales pitch, that this is a tough one for people in real estate to make the jump towards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, all your listeners, that actually sell technology to real estate agents or in the real estate industry know that it's a very influencer-driven industry. People follow Ben Kinney religiously. People follow their coach, whoever it might be, religiously. Tom Ferry. It's like a religion, to them. They will do whatever they say, no questions asked. And that's something we kind of started to catch on to. And so we try to build these relationships with influencers, right? Just simple influencer marketing. And, obviously going the route of the Ben Keeneys and Tom Ferrys is kind of the top of that mountain, the highest level that you can be playing that game at. Yep. We started to kind of infiltrate these smaller masterminds and coaching groups that have been really successful for our direct sales team growth. One example is actually who we host our podcast, which is theisaradio.com. My co-host is a great guy named Robbie Trefethren. He is the ISA coach at Hatch Coaching out of Fargo, North Dakota. So another fellow Midwesterner.
Boom.
Can't beat it.
The best tech coming out the Midwest. North Dakota, people. North
Dakota. So they coach some of the top teams in the country. And we've been lucky to be able to work with them on our podcast. They're having a summit. They have an annual summit out in Fargo. They get people from across the country.
Want to go to this. It's just
you should.
Fun.
They had someone fly in from Hawaii last year to Fargo. And the funniest part about that was this guy made the decision to fly in the day before the event. He just said, I'm going to Fargo from Hawaii of all places. So
why not?
It's been really cool.
There you go. I didn't even know that flight was available.
I don't know how he got here. Not a clue.
He probably had to rent a car or depending on what time of year, a snowplow. But,
Yeah. That's been really great for our team
growth. No one
growth.
has mentioned influencer marketing. You're the first person, I think, and by the way, this is episode 57. This is the first mention of someone talking about influencer marketing. And I'm really happy to hear that because number one, it makes me feel like I'm not doing things in a crazy manner because I may or may not be going down similar paths. So I'm not going to talk about it though. And I think that's cool. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's smart. It's aligning with the people who are the movers and shakers. They got the most, traction. They got the most experience under their belt, and they've got influence.
Yep. It's
Yeah.
really hard to sell to agents one by one. And it's
Yeah.
even harder to sell AI to agents who
True.
are extremely skeptical of what AI is without that influencer push.
Now, so obviously, I'm assuming somewhere along the way you've done something wrong. In this journey for the last few years, you've been building this company. Is there an experiment or something you guys started doing that ended up not working out? And if you can share, what was that? What was the lesson you took away from it?
I would say it was from a product perspective that we experimented. I mean, we experiment with product quite a bit, but this was really early on. We decided we wanted to use MLS data, so multiple listing service data, IDX data. We wanted to plug into real property data with our product. So if a lead says something like, how many beds does 123 Main Street have? We could say 2, or help them find a house through, if they say I'm looking for a 2-bed, 2-bath under 200K in Des Moines, Iowa, we could maybe send them a link to some properties. And that sounds great. But what we found was, why would someone go to us for this experience and not Zillow? Zillow has mastered that problem and owns it. And it's going to be hard to dethrone them for anyone. And from a consumer perspective, that would have positioned our company much more as a consumer play. And that was not interesting to us at all. It might have been in the beginning, but, as we kept going down this path, it became harder and harder. Dealing with MLS data is really tough. Getting those approvals is really tough. And, positioning our product in that way is really tough. Not to mention, what we learned is, from a product perspective, leads don't really care. When they fill out a form on your agent's website or Zillow or Realtor.com, and they say, how many beds does this property have? And they're looking for a property with 2 beds, and this house only has 1. And you say, 123 Main Street has 1 bed. A lot of times they'll say, thanks, see ya. And then they ghost you forever because it's not the right property. And it became more and more kind of detrimental to the conversation for us. So what we found was, just do away with the data, respond more passively, and let the agent jump in when needed. And they can say this property has 2 beds or whatever. So we say something like, I'll double check how many beds that property has and let my team leader follow up shortly, so on and so forth. So we kind of keep them on the hook longer. So from a product perspective, that's kind of a failed experiment that we tried early on.
I think it says a lot about you guys and your growth, because that shows a lot of wisdom in how sales works. Knowing everything about everything in sales actually doesn't make you more convincing. It oftentimes makes you more intimidating. It feels like, as a consumer, you can't get something. You're like, oh, maybe I don't want to do this. And, or it can be intimidating even. And I think what you guys are doing is the right thing. You're opening people up to be able to say what they're looking for, to expand on that. That helps them search and reevaluate as they're trying to figure out what it is, and not feel like you're talking at them, but listening to them. I think that's a pretty big deal.
And that's something that the Hatch coaching I mentioned, Robbie, that we talk about on our podcast a lot. That's something they coach. So they are not only ISA coaches, but they run a brokerage themselves with an ISA team. They're all licensed ISAs, which means they are licensed to talk about a property. Yep. And they teach not to talk about the property. They say, if a lead says, how many beds do you have? Does this property have? Ask why. How many beds are you looking for and why? You don't need to tell them. It's really about sitting there listening and understanding why they're looking for a certain amount of beds.
Right, because if they're looking for, because I have 1 bedroom for me and I need an office, then 2 bedrooms isn't truly what they're after for. They're looking for space for an office. What a bummer if they miss out on one of those cool things where people build an office in the shed in the backyard these days. I like that. But
really understanding the why between, why people are buying anything, whether it be a house, whether it be mortgage, whatever. You're really not there to, really sell them. You're just there to listen and understand the person at the end of the day.
I love it. I do love it. It makes me miss sales even more. Come on, man. I'm going to end up booking my ticket to Fargo tonight. So one thing I wanted to talk about, this kind of total shift here. We're going to totally shift. In the industry, we catch on this every episode on the show. We talk about funding. There's a ton of funding right now in prop tech and real estate tech. Vision 2 is around. What was it? Fifth Wall just raised a bunch of money again on another fund, I think. And I think there's still a high level of interest of who's going to, in all the different facets of real estate, right? Who can build their business as fast as possible so it's defendable for the next 10 years, and leveraging tech so they can be ahead of the curve. There are a few questions here. Have you guys raised any money? How much? And if you can talk about that, share a little bit. And then also the follow-up to that is, why do you think right now there's so much money coming into real estate to fund tech, the tech angle of real estate?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have raised a seed round of $800K. That goes a long way in the Midwest compared to other places. So we haven't needed to raise more to date, and we're kind of happy in that position and trying to figure out obviously what's next for us. Making sure that, I think that one thing that we're constantly thinking of is, from an AI company, you could sit there and go raise a bunch of money and build some really cool stuff. But we really wanted to build a sustainable company. And what I mean by that is not having to hire a team of 20 new call center reps to go get this new deal, which would have probably required more funding. We wanted to prove that our business was sustainable in that way, because a lot of people have tried to solve the call center problem and failed because they didn't build a sustainable business model. And a lot of it was because of that high overhead cost of hiring a call center rep or lots of call center reps. So that's kind of one unique position that we decided we really wanted to prove out when we started the company, when we raised our initial round of funding. And I think we've been really successful in that so far. But then to answer your question as to why there is so much money in real estate tech now, I think a lot of people are seeing an opportunity where brokerages are missing out. And a lot of it is kind of what I mentioned earlier, is tech. And, you could argue that some of these big brokerages raising a lot of money, not going to name names, don't really have a lot of tech, or at least not yet. But that doesn't really matter.
Trying to say they just went out and bought it?
No, not at all. But it doesn't really matter. They have built culture as a defense, which is really interesting to me. And then they're trying to layer in the tech later to get people to stay. So that's kind of what I was mentioning earlier, is culture gets people in the door, gets teams in the door, and teams are kind of the new thing. That's kind of the model that these massive tech-enabled brokerages are riding on. And culture gets the people in the door for those teams, and then tech keeps them around and gets them to stay. So I think that's kind of the VC pitch that potentially these companies are going out and pitching.
Got it. Well, very cool. I appreciate you sharing that. And, it's always fascinating to hear what companies are doing, especially when it comes to fundraising. And I think it's just some evidence. You don't have to go out and raise $5 million. And, the purpose of companies doesn't have to be for raising money. It can actually be for the purpose of solving problems.
Yes.
Make a little bit of money on the side while you do it. But, it doesn't have to be just about the raising of money. And it's refreshing to hear that. And obviously, office space in the middle of Iowa, you guys are just in a barn, right? You're like upstairs.
It's actually funny because right after this podcast, I'm going to move to our new office, like literally right away, right after this. And it's a really cool office.
Is it a barn?
It's not a barn at all.
It's a barn.
No, not a barn. But I will say our first office was surrounded by corn on all four sides. Technically, it was an island. We were just out there
before it got dark, didn't you?
Yeah. So we're kind of happy to be out of the cornfield, but it's definitely a lot cheaper than the coast to get office space.
I bet. All right. Well, we're going to jump into my favorite segment of the show. This is called For the Future. For the Future is where I get to ask each guest who comes on the show to give their best predictions based on the following 4 questions. Nate, are you ready to play?
I am. Fire away.
This is it's gonna be easy. No problem. You got this. All right. Question number 1: what does structurally look like 1 year from now?
Yeah. So one thing I'm super excited about that we're releasing is script customization. Didn't get a touch on it too much, but it basically allows agents, team leaders, and ISAs to customize every message sent in whatever way they want. I think that will allow us to get into new markets like mortgage, which is really interesting to us because they can customize these conversations to reply to mortgage leads, potentially insurance, rental, property management. There's a lot of opportunities to help, augment the role of a call center rep or augment the role of any salesperson that is untapped for structurally today.
That's very cool. All right. Question number 2: what will the housing market look like 1 year from now?
Wow. That's a really unique question. I've never bought a house ever. So I kind of have purposely stayed away from I don't know what's going on here. I don't really care. I'm going to keep my head down and just keep renting. So I think from what we see through our conversations, people are picking up on some senses that it could crash. I'm not an expert in this at all. I'm just listening to what some of our consumers who are buying houses are saying. And we see a lot more recently this summer, even people saying, you know what, I'm just going to wait for it to crash. So I don't know what that means, but from what we can see from our leads, some people think that it might crash.
All right. That is one take.
Yeah. I don't know if that's right or not. And probably proportionally.
This is why I bring smart people on the show. I want you guys to look in your crystal balls, and then I kind of take a few answers and start forming opinions.
I think proportionally, if we were to look at our data, because we tag those messages like waiting on market.
Interesting. Okay.
It would be a very small amount of people saying I'm waiting on it for it to crash. But those people that are waiting on it are super opinionated that it's going to crash.
I would be very interested, and I don't know how you could package this or publish it, but I would be interested in what your buyers' sentiment is for the last 3 months. Like what your data, what your data would suggest the sentiment is. Right. Of I can't wait to buy tomorrow. I think I'm going to sit on the sidelines, and I'm pretty sure it's going to crash.
That would be
curious what that breakdown would look like based on the discussions you're having in AI. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways we could kind of slice and dice that.
Yeah,
I'd have to follow up with you on that.
All right. Cool. Question number 3 here. What's one industry trend you think will continue, but you wish would go away?
Ooh, wow, that's a interesting one too. In the real estate industry specifically?
Well, yeah.
Or just okay. I have a personal vendetta against the word chatbot. Like I've told you, I think that's a little detrimental to me. A lot of people think of us as a chatbot company, and I'm like, please don't call us that. We're better than that. So I just personally wish that word would go away. I wish these other chatbot companies would beef up their product a little bit. That might mean more competition for us. But I think at the end of the day, it's doing a disservice to consumers, to people looking to buy a house, to have to go through this terrible question and answer sequence that's not helping them feel heard and understood. Just at the end of the day, to sell more stuff to agents. I think that chatbot trend needs to go away.
Yeah. All right. And last but not least, on For the Future here, what's one thing you believe will dramatically change or fade away in real estate as a result of technological advances?
I think, like I mentioned earlier, the drudgery of following up with leads, of following up with mundane tasks that bog down everyone, not just ISAs, not just agents or brokers. Everyone has those terrible mundane tasks that they do every day. And like I said earlier, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for AI and just generally technology. Think about Avail's product. all of your landlords they have lives. They're not, I don't know a ton about your customers, but a lot of them are not institutional investors. They
That's
have
correct.
other jobs, they have other things to do, and they are liberated and freed by your product to live their lives, have other jobs.
Yep.
And your tech is just there running in the background to help them do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally one of the personas.
Yeah, exactly. You're here on a podcast right now, not helping someone fix their refrigerator or whatever.
Thank goodness. I'm glad not to have to handle that anymore.
Yeah.
So, well, cool. Let's shift in here to the last three. Nate, these are questions more about you, so listeners get to better know you. So, the first one is, what are you reading?
Yeah, so I mentioned this on another podcast recently. I do not like to read business books at all. I have serious FOMO when I read them, in that I want to highlight the whole page, and then I just sit there and highlight the whole book, and then I'm like, I didn't learn anything. This was too stressful. So I'm not reading any business books right now, but I will say the one I'm really excited about and am going to read is it's called Playing for the Person Next to You, or I think that's what it's called, but it's by Hatch Coaching, the ISA coaching company that I mentioned earlier. Eric Hatch, who leads that company and leads the Hatch Realty brokerage, is writing a book about management and playing for the person next to you, leading for the person next to you. And that's something that I love. I have had to learn from a management style is I will get in there and do the dirty work for the person next to me. And so I'm really excited to read that book and learn how I can become a better management kind of with that style.
That's very cool. If I can make a recommendation, I understand the fear of missing out by not highlighting the whole book, but I think you would enjoy a book by Roger Dooley called Friction.
I've recently heard a few people talk about that.
Yeah, it's going to catch on, I think, slowly. It'll never be a New York Times bestseller, but it maybe one day it'll go there. But I can't recommend it enough. Amazing book. So
okay.
All right, question number 2. All about you, man. Who are you learning from?
Who am I learning from? I'm going to be a broken record here, but it's the Hatch guys. I don't mean to plug them as much as I am, but they are fellow Midwesterners, like I mentioned, and they are fantastic leaders, not just for how to coach ISA teams or teams, real estate teams, for business in general. If you follow Eric Hatch or Robbie Trefethen, the content they're putting out regularly is phenomenal for learning how to lead. And, this is my first startup. This is my first company. So I've never had to manage anyone. I've never had a real job before this. I came straight from college. So learning how to learn beside the people that I'm managing and work beside them has been really hard, really fun, really interesting. But I think you need people like Eric and people who've been there to tell you more or less how to do it and how to do it the right way, or else you're going to find yourself in a world of hurt.
That's so good. All right, last one here. What inspires you?
I think freedom does. That's a really cliche term, but it's something that our product helps our users do is find freedom in their day. They don't have to work on the weekends. They don't have to work overnight, which are huge hot times for following up with leads. So the freedom to do things that you want is inspiring to me. And obviously, at some point in my life, the freedom to do financially what I want could be fun too. But that's not what I'm interested in right now. It's the freedom to really work on what you want is what excites me. I love to work on product things. And there's a lot of parts of the business that I run now that I don't like to work on. So building a team around me to help with that is something that inspires me.
Well, that's very cool. Nate, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. I love having another Nate on the show. I love what you guys are doing. You're planting the flag of AI in the great state of Iowa. Good on you guys for bringing the North or the Midwest up, if you will.
Yeah.
I want to give you the last word here. So before we go, if people want to connect with you, if they want to learn more about Structurally, where do they go and how can they do that?
Yeah. So it's just our website is Structurally, structureoy.com. Kind of a hard word to spell, I know. But you can find out a lot about our product there. And, I think my last word is, I hope that we're not only raising the bar for AI in the Midwest, although I love Iowa. I never want to leave. I love the Midwest. I hope we're raising the bar for AI in real estate. And I think there needs to be that company that does that, because there was way too much hype in the industry that I hope has fizzled out now. And I hope has left room for the right companies to push AI forward.
Yeah. I think it's worth it, and it's going to push a lot of things forward, as you guys are already proving, integrating with other products and services. So I'm going to be rooting for you guys. Stoked on it. Keep me posted on your success. I'm sure I'll see you around the internet. If I don't see you in Fargo.
Exactly. Or just anywhere in the Midwest.
There we go, man. Come on up to Chicago. Let's make it happen.
Yep.
Okay. We'll appreciate it. We'll catch you later.
All right. Thanks, Nate.
Well, that's it for today. Thanks so much for listening to the TechNest podcast. Hey, don't forget, you can get on the email list so you never miss an upcoming episode. That's technest.io. That's technest.io. Get on the email list. Go to the App Store, whether you found us on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you found us. Leave us a 5-star review and share it with your friends. And if you've got a guest or someone that you'd like to recommend, or if you think that you'd be a great guest on the show, hey, send me an email, nate@realteampanda.com. That's nate@realteampanda.com. See you guys later.